Hi, everyone. It's July 3rd, 11 o'clock Friday morning, and I'm so glad to be back here. I have missed connecting with you all in this way. So, happy 4th to you, whatever you're doing for this holiday. I hope it is special and with people you just love being around. So, it's been so long since I've done this, I forget how I even start, but thank you for joining me. I've got some questions submitted today that I'll get to. I'll read the Akashic Prayer. We'll see what messages the guides have for us, something for the collective, and then we'll go from there. Y'all are welcome to ask questions live for those of you that are joining live today. And I think we should be able to get to everything. Um, you know what? And we're just going to jump in, okay? So if you want, when I read the prayer, you can close your eyes, let yourself relax. Just be open to receive whatever comes through. Notice if you get a little nudge. Hang on, my YouTube's giving me all these things here. Maybe something for you to ask about today. Um, and if something comes in your mind, the guides may direct somebody else to even ask it for you. So you never know how this all works. Okay. I ask God if He will have His shield of love and truth around you permanently, so only God's love and truth will exist between you and me. I allow the masters, teachers, and loved ones of you to channel through me out of whatever realm to say whatever they wish. I ask the permission of the Lords of the Akashic Records so I'm able to look into the records of you and remove whatever information I'm allowed. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Okay. So the guides are reminding me, now, y'all know I love astrology. I'm not an astrologer, but I love to follow what's going on because just throughout my life, I've seen it be quite influential and pretty spot on. So they're telling me to remind everyone today in particular, this whole week actually has been really intense. Today in particular is also going to be intense, and some astrologers call it a possibly volatile day because Uranus and Mars are squaring, I believe, and both of those are in Gemini. And it's, if you look at Uranus, it is that planet that likes to disrupt because it wants you to live in your authentic self. And Mars is the instigator, the aggressor. So it can poke some fights. But it too, with that similar intention, with it being in Gemini, governs our expressions, our communications, how we speak, how we write, how we communicate. And so both of those are stirring the pot in that whole arena today in particular. So be mindful of what you write today, how you speak with others, what you're communicating in general, because things can, and then we're in Mercury retrograde. So things can really get a little wonky today. So the guides are saying they would just ask all of you or guide all of you to really just slow down today. If you have the day off, man, you're lucky. That's a really good thing because your arena is a little more limited. You're not in that workplace setting where you really don't want things to go wrong. But anyway, they're saying to take today, really slow down, be mindful, keep your feet on the ground. If you can, they would say this is a day to really focus on being grounded in your truth, grounded in your reality, just grounded in your sense of being. And what they want you to really take to heart and really know, despite everything going on in the world, despite everything going on in your life, that in this very moment, and if you bring yourself into this really present moment, everything is okay. It is really okay. And you are exactly where you're supposed to be right now. You're doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing. And so they want you to let go of doubts about that, questions about that. They said just take your mind out of the future right now and allow yourself to just be in this day and be here how you want to be here. They would guide you to be especially kind to yourself, kind to others. Mhm. It's not always easy to 100% of the time think good thoughts um, because, stuff happens in life and we're watching a lot going on in the world. Um, but as much as you can, if you have a negative thought about something or you're thinking about something that kind of brings you a little anxiety or just, disrupts that positive flow, they said to really look at it and understand. You may not know the whole of what's going on. And they would like for you to surrender any thoughts you have around the subject and just be open to a different perspective. And invite your guides to show you that different perspective, whether it's today or sometime over the weekend. But engage with your personal guides. So if you have something that's going on in your life that's a little anxiety, driven, so to speak, ask the guides to offer you a new perspective. And if you're live here today with us, you can always type that in. So, all right, let me see if they have anything else. And hello, all of you, for joining. So glad to see you. Y'all can probably hear it in my voice. I think I just have the worst allergies here in Georgia. People told me when I've never had allergies. They said when you move to Georgia, you will get allergies, and I would say that's correct. My husband's been saying that a long time. Anyway, but we're here, and I'm so grateful. All right, let me see what else the guides have to say before we jump into our questions here. Hang on. Okay. Okay, this is funny. As much as they have encouraged you so far to be really grounded and present in your reality, they would also like for you to, at some point, today, tomorrow, this weekend, they would like for you to just go outside and look at the sky. Acknowledge that your feet are firmly planted here on the earth, but allow your gaze to drift up to the sky. Now, a few things they want you to, just take time and watch the clouds drift by. Maybe some of you are going to get a rainbow somewhere if there's storms. And I know it's fireworks weekend, but this is more in the daytime, daylight, that they're suggesting. And what they want you to remember, without going too far in the future, the sky represents how high you can go. And that is spiritually, physically, mentally, emotionally, all of that. And they want you to remember when you look up at the sky and you're gazing up into that vastness, that your life, your journey, all of your existence in being here can tap into that vastness. And they want you to understand you are a vast being and you are so much more than this physical body. And they want the sky to be something that reminds you of that. And so we tend to think very human, of course, and we can tend to think in limited ways. And a lot of that's because we don't see what the divine sees. We see what our human mind sees or our ego latches onto. But they want you to know there's so much more there for you. You don't even have to know what that is, but just allowing yourself to be in that energy that there's more, and that the divine knows what that is. Your guides know what that is. And all you have to do is be open to that vastness, open to the possibilities of things you can't even imagine for yourself. That's a really lovely exercise. And I have to say, before we got on the call, my husband is at the beach visiting his mom. And he sent me a couple pictures of the sky. And I was just really thinking how beautiful that was. And I love how the guides tap into that and use that as something uh, teaching for all of us to consider. So hopefully, wherever you are, the skies are beautiful and yielding that energy of opportunity and possibilities. Sky's the limit, right? So that would be something to take with you into this weekend. You don't even have to know what it's about. Just know the sky's the limit and that anything can happen. And to remind you, this universe is an abundant universe. That is the dominant, I would say, vibration of the universe is abundance. And the divine, your guides, like I said, see more than you do. And when you can be open to their guidance, them throwing signs in front of you, or, you know, maybe sending you on a detour as you're driving, there's a reason for that. So just be open, almost like it's an adventure of why you're going on this detour. Okay. So everything happens for a reason. You don't always know the reason or even have to know the reason, yet you can trust that something better is being worked out for you. That would be a lovely way to go into the weekend, also. So they're saying all this too, just as a reminder. Today's energies, astrologically speaking, are intense. It's been an intense week. Tomorrow we get more of a softening to that energy. Um, but you can put that softening in motion today with the guidance they just offered. Okay. The last thing they're saying before we get into the questions, they want you to pay attention to your dreams. For those of you that are big dreamers out there, I'm still waving to people joining. Um, Pay attention to those dreams and see what messages you can pull out from them. Even if they're reassuring, even if somebody just said they've been having wild dreams lately, capital letters wild. Um, dreams are hard to interpret sometimes, but if you sit with them, actually, if you really write them out, that's when you really start to see what you need to see. You can always, if you use AI, you can always throw your dream into AI. The interpretations are pretty trippy, and I would say insightful. And again, it just gives you perspective to consider. You have to decide what resonates for you or not. I had a dream last night that I was living in Mobile, Alabama, during the era of the 1940s, when A Streetcar Named Desire was, that setting was set. And it was just so, it felt so real to me that I actually lived there and I had this past life there. And it, it was, I've never had that dream or even connected to that era. But it's something I'm going to, play with today and see what I need to take from that. So dreams always come to tell us something we don't know. And that's why, if you're a dreamer, write them down. And again, the interpretation may not be obvious right away, yet once you put it down in written form, at some point the clarity is going to start to show up for you. Okay, yeah, crazy energy this week. Y'all are right. Okay, so let me get over here to my questions. Hang on here. Okay. All right, so the first question, talk about the Mandela Effect, named for President Mandela. Are we as a species splitting onto different timelines as this exposes? What does this mean? So, for those of you that don't know what the Mandela Effect is, it's kind of a phenomenon where there's like two groups of people that have split off, and they're defined by their memories. So, and the Mandela Effect was coined because there's a large group of people thought he died in prison in the 1980s, when the reality is, he got out in the early 90s, became president in 1994, and I think he died in 2013. So it's funny because that phenomenon is, some people have that distinct memory he died in prison and the others don't. So it's like there's false and there's truths, and there's a whole group of people that have these false memories. um, Another example in one of the fairy tales, some people remember mirror mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of us all, but the reality is magic mirror on the wall in that phrase. So it's what this person is asking is, are we as a species splitting onto different timelines as this exposes? So let me see. I'm not as familiar with this topic, so I'm really curious to see how the guides are going to answer this one. So you'll hang on here. So, what the guides are saying, it's a little difficult to understand from our human mind. Um, they would have you understand that, hang on here, almost like there's a glitch in the matrix, is the best way to put it. And there is a group of people that believe in the false reality, but to them, it's not a false reality. So, it's almost like, yeah, there are two. Um, this person's asking different timelines. It looks like different realities, um, is what the guides are saying. And it's, is it the memory, um, the brain trying to, create a logical solution to something, and then the memory locks onto that, and that becomes the truth? When you really, really believe something, it becomes your truth. Even if somebody believes, something entirely different, something as concrete as did he die in prison or did he not? Sometimes even people rooted in that false belief can read the history books and still deny it. Um, so, hang on here. Doesn't look to me like we're splitting into different timelines, but it does look like there's almost these parallel realities that are happening, all at the same time. And it looks like there's a group of people that have tapped into this alternate reality where what we might consider false in that reality is actually true for them. Let me see how to, if they can explain how these. Well, they said think about dreams. It's kind of like dreams. We have, we have our dreams, and oftentimes we are seeing ourselves in other lifetimes. We are seeing ourselves in other realities. Um, they have told me before that we can actually, if we concentrate, meditate, if we um, if we want, we can reach into another reality and pull something out of it into this one. Now that's going to take a little bit more getting into, but all these realities are so close together. Um, Hang on here. And like they said, we are very vast in our beingness. So there is a way to pull from other realities into this one. So they're kind of saying it's almost like a bleed through between the realities. That some are here in this present one, but they're seeing realities from a different one. So is that something in their mind that gives them access to a different reality? Maybe. I think this one is worth exploring more. It's a really fascinating question, so I thank you for asking that. I would love it if you have a follow-up question to this where we might can pull more information from the guides. Okay, here. I have been sick and I'm just trying to see if I should go to another doctor. I just want to know if I'm on the right path to heal. Okay, here. It sounds to me from what the guides are suggesting is that there's an underlying cause that's almost kind of creating an autoimmune sense of, um, of illness. And they're indicating mold for some reason. So I don't know if you've been exposed to mold in some way, but it might be worth it to look at doing a mold protocol. So because it looks like it's affecting all of the body, and in that it's compromising your immune system, and so it looks like different things can get in different, whether it's a flu or a cold or um, a stomach bug or something. It just looks like you're more susceptible to more things because of an underlying um, weakness. But they're pointing to mold for some reason. I'm not sure if you've looked at that or explored it. Um, but I think doing a mold protocol to clear from the body would really be helpful. So you'll have to keep us posted. Okay. All right. My son and his 6-year-old daughter and 9-year-old son have lived 10 minutes away from me for the past 6.5 years or 6+ years. I have been very involved with them, having fun, teaching them about nature and crystals and energy, while learning from them about the wonders of life. They are moving to Ireland in 10 days, and I'm grieving, but I'm also curious. What possibilities does their move open up for them and for my relationship with each of them? How can I feel the sadness without falling into depression? Wow, I can feel your grief in that already, and just missing them. That feels so far away. Okay, so the guides love when things like this happen for a particular reason, and they want to acknowledge how strong the bond is that you have with them right now, and how beautiful and connected you are. And this distance that's getting ready to, the physical distance that's getting ready to happen, what the guides are saying is going to open up a world of possibilities. And what it's going to reveal to you and to them, one, that your connection is even stronger despite the distance. And so it's going to be things like you're thinking of them or they're thinking of you, and one of you reaches out. You're going to start having those serendipitous um, connections or reach outs or thoughts, and you're going to find that you're really on the same vibration, same wavelength. You're traveling the same plane, so to speak. And so energetically, you're very, very, very connected. And you're going to get obvious signs of that connection. And what's fun about having the distance there, it, you know how they've done tests with, an atom they split, one in San Francisco and one of New York, and they trigger one of the atoms in San Francisco, and the one in New York starts vibrating at the same rate of speed, and they're that far apart. So they said it's kind of like that. You'll be that far apart, but you're going to be so connected. And the obviousness of it will be really fun, and it'll be really rewarding. And they're giving me images of the children, FaceTiming you and showing you the things they found over there. Like you have instilled in them a sense of wonder and curiosity and playfulness, and they will be able to take that over there and really discover the land, and they'll develop a love for the land, and that's something you've taught them, and to watch that unfold is going to be really rewarding. Now, I'm not going to say they'll be in Ireland forever, but it does feel like this is a significant time, and it's going to be fun to watch how you've influenced them and how they start living over there. You will have dreams. You'll connect at night in your dreams. Uh, I just think it's going to be really beautiful, and it's it's a different way to bond. It's a different way, to explore your energetic connection, even with the physical distance there. And you find other ways to connect in the sense that, when somebody's far away, like you're used to them every day, you see them every day, you get used to that. And when somebody's all of a sudden far away, when you do have those moments to connect, it's like, oh my gosh, you're so present, and you just want to you want to soak up all of that time you have with that person. So that's going to happen too, and it's like a different kind of fondness is really going to blossom here. So hopefully that brings a little peace to your heart, and actually maybe inspires a little bit of sense of adventure of what's to come. Ireland's a really magical place, and the fairies and all of that's from over there, and it would just be so lovely for them uh, to be open to those experiences. And I would say you've prepped them well. Part of this was, I would say, training, for them to be there. I love it. So um, you'll have to keep us posted too. Okay. Is there any indication that Seattle, Washington is going to be hit by an earthquake this year? Okay, let's see here. Well, I right away hear very mild. So I know there have been some big earthquakes, obviously, going around. And, I mean, even Venezuela, they weren't on the ring of fire, but they still part of this time of earthquakes. I know the ring of fire is lit up. Um, I know there are predictions that the West Coast is really going to suffer um, from a lot of, earthquakes and tsunamis and things like that. Given all of that, what I'm hearing to answer you and your question is there will be an earthquake. Looks very mild, and I hear that distinctly, very mild, very mild. So I would assume from that, if I were interpreting it for me, I would assume there's not going to be much damage. Um, but there'll be, a rumbling of some sort. I'm also looking, because I lived out in that area and I know that area. And so I can't help but look over to Mount Hood in Oregon and see if that's going to, have any kind of eruption or anything like that. But I'm not hearing that. I'm hearing it will erupt again, and probably in our lifetime, but I'm not hearing that is right around the corner. So, okay, hopefully that brings you a little peace of mind. Okay, here's another one. I love these questions today, y'all. Okay, I had some dreams. We're talking about dreams. I had some dreams about taking care of plants, some that belong to a departed loved one. The plants I dreamed of are real life plants. In a dream workshop, I learned that this might mean the way I receive spirit is different now. Can my guides clarify what that means for me and how I can best use that information? Okay, interesting. Give me 1 second. I want to make, I can tell what's coming in is not quite clear yet. Almost like this is going to be another one of those confusing things for our human minds to understand. So the guides are saying on one level, the plants are reaching to you directly. Acknowledge, so in the dream, the plants are, it's almost like this is a waking life reality, but it's the way they communicate with you was in the dream, because that's the easiest way to communicate. But they're saying that the plants are reaching out to you, acknowledging your connection with them and your care for them and how much they appreciate it. And that in your waking life, but it seems to be validated in the dream life through that particular dream. Now, the other thing being that some of the plants were, let's just say, an extension from this departed loved one. So, is it a way that this person is communicating with you too? Yeah, absolutely, because think of these plants as an extension of this person. And when you tend those plants, you're acknowledging this person also, not just the plant, but that this person was present in your life, was present with these plants. This person lived. This person is still living. That's the other thing they want to say is these plants are evidence. Think of them as that extension of the person. The plant's evidence that this person is still living. Their soul is still inhabiting different things. Is it showing up in the plants sometimes? Yes, absolutely. Whenever we think about someone who's passed, whenever we talk about someone who's passed, we keep their energy really present. And, that's why in Mexico, they celebrate the Day of the Dead because they want to remember their ancestors to keep the souls alive. And what I am hearing is those plants are talking to you, are an extension of this person. That person is talking to you. So it's kind of a little bit of all the above, if that makes sense. And the plants are happy to represent this person. Their soul, the plant soul, is not being overtaken by this person's soul by any means. It's a loving partnership, is what it looks like. And in your caring for them, you're caring for the plant soul and the soul of this person. I hope that makes sense. That's just so fascinating. I think it's just another way that this person is finding to connect with you. And just even through the plants, I'm telling you, it is so unlimited how they can connect. And I think it's really wonderfully creative to even understand that that's another avenue too. Oh, thank you. I will I'll comment you guys here. Let me see. When the guides are saying that sky's the limit and you are really vast in your beingness, they are in spirit as well. And how they communicate with us is really unlimited. And so even through the plants, it's like, wow, that's just extraordinary, isn't it? And so let yourself be surprised of all the different ways they connect. But when you think of a person who's in spirit, they are thinking of you. They are right there and they are knocking on your head. And that's why you think of them, because they're right there. Okay, let me see here if I have another question, you guys. Hang on. Okay, let me see here. Okay, so I have one more question. Would it be more harmful or beneficial for my son to know who his real father is? What is in my son's best interest? Well, that's a big one, huh? Okay. Well, the clear winner is beneficial. There is like hands down, no doubt that that would be beneficial. And what I'm hearing is that there's actually a lovely connection to be had there. And of course, you'll go through the typical disruptions of, um, finding out that news, become, a child being made aware of who they thought their father was is not, and this is. Um, so you'll have that, turbulence. Let's call it turbulence. It's not life shattering, it's just turbulence. And the guides are saying that that will be overcome by more of a wonder and a curiosity and an openness to reach out. And it actually could change your son's life dramatically, and I would say in a positive way. So I know it's scary. It's scary because it feels like, oh, I don't want to rock the boat. Everything's fine. We could just keep going as we're going. Yet, what the guides are saying, the very fact that you ask the question, the fact that it sits there within you, means you already have an awareness that you should share that information. If you didn't, you wouldn't ask that question. So there's already something within you that intuits that it's beneficial. And that's why you're waffling, because it's more of the waffling on the fear of what you put in motion, the fear of retaliation that might come your way. But there's something within you that already knows, or you wouldn't be asking, if that makes sense, is what they're saying. So hopefully that is helpful too. All right, let me see here. I don't think I have any other questions. So I'm going to look here with you guys who've been able to join today. Thank you for sending me healing prayers. I've been fighting some chronic thing with my sinuses. I'm just going to say it's allergies at this point. But it's great to see all of you. Let's see here. Somebody said, I don't have a question right now, but just wanted to tell you, Betsy, that I'm so very proud of you for the work that you're doing and helping so many people. I just say thank you, thank you, thank you. It is such a joy to be able to do this. It really is. All right, and then with the recent death of my dad, my family has been asking us to move back home to St. Louis, and my daughter is really interested in going. Can you ask the guides if this is a good idea? Well, you know, it's always been on the radar that moving is in your future, and the clarity of that just has not, you know, has been clear. So there hasn't been any clarity on that. The knowing of moving has been, the location has not been. And so what the guides are saying, this feels like a green light, like an obvious path to take, and especially that your daughter wants to go. That's just like a little bit more of a nudge to consider St. Louis. And it looks like being around family will be quite rewarding, more than you might think or imagine. I'm also hearing there's something for you to do there. So I'm not sure if that's starting a group, teaching something, leading something, but I feel like there's something for you to do there. And maybe it's influencing the family in some way. I'm not sure, but I'm just hearing there's something for you to do there. Let's see if there's okay. All right, and let me see one more thing here from your dad. Let me just get one thing here. Well, your dad would love for you to be back there. And what he's telling me to tell you is you don't have to stay forever. Just go back and see what's calling you back there and be open to what it is that's calling you. he said there's a lot of love there for you and your family. Your kids will really feel it. And there's something important in that too that would be good for the kids. But it doesn't mean you have to stay there forever. But it does look like going back for a while would be beneficial, to use that word again. So, okay. All right. Can you please ask my cat Julie if she wants to tell me something, because they can't figure out what's wrong with her? Okay, let's see here. Well, I'll tell you this. And you were coming on late, but I answered the question earlier about being sick. And so there's two things here. So, one thing the guide said, and you can go back and listen, where I answered your question there, does look like mold is underlying. But what I'm hearing about your cat is that she's trying to heal some of this for you. Like she's trying to take some of this illness away from you. That's why they can't find it. So I would say she's going to mirror your journey. And if you take care, I would say, of the underlying issue within you, which feels like mold related for some reason. So you have to tell me if that makes sense to you or not. It just looks like that's going to, you'll see the changes in her too. But I'm hearing it's directly tied to your illness, that she's trying to relieve you of some of that. So the quicker you can get to yours, I would say hers will reflect healing as well. I'm not sensing that she's planning to leave the planet with all of this illness. I feel like there's still time to circumvent that, if that makes sense. Okay, let me see here. Okay. All right, hang on one second here. Anything else? What is STH for me? I'm not reading that with a little angel. Oh. Okay. Okay, let's see here. All right, you guys, I think we are. Let me see if I have any other things. Okay, no. It has been a joy to be here. So I'm going to ask the guides if they have any parting messages for us today. It's so funny. There's a lot of deep depth today. Let's say that. They are asking you to think about, let's see here, imagining yourself living somewhere else, living in some other era, some other, like my dream last night. They are asking you to acknowledge whether you feel like it's a daydream or not. Maybe they want you to think of it as a past life. You don't have to. You can think of it as a daydream. If you imagine yourself living, in the 1500s in France, on the countryside, whatever it might be, if you just can imagine yourself living a different life or a different time, they would have you play with this a little bit and think about what life was like then. Because what's happening is your soul has memory and it wants to bring forth some of the same feelings and not same experiences, but the same feelings. Now, this would be, I would say, a happier lifetime, but it could be a challenging lifetime. There may be something you need to bring forth that would really serve you right now. Like the person they said about mold, gosh, you might have lived in the lifetime when the bubonic plague was going around, and you could have easily survived that lifetime. by your diligence, of treating your health. And they want you to know that that same thing could happen in this lifetime. You can really heal yourself. Anyway, what they're saying is, if you let yourself daydream, or if you have a dream you're in another era, if you've always thought, gosh, I know I lived in Japan and blah blah blah, they said take that as truth, and just understand there's something for you to pull out from that lifetime into this lifetime that will serve you in some way. So that feels a little far out there, but yet have fun with it. You never know what will come through. If you spend this weekend, say, watching reruns or the episodes of Downton Abbey, it might be because you lived in that time, and that you're meant to remember something about yourself that in a character you see. So just watch whatever you're giving your attention to this weekend, whatever's presenting itself to you in a theme or a pattern, and be open to whatever you glean from that. You might just think you're musing or making things up in your head, yet you need to start trusting yourself more. And you're not crazy. And some of the things that pop in your head, your guides are helping you with those thoughts. So trust yourself. Trust what you're noticing. Trust what you're leaning towards. And really have a light, easy weekend as best you can. Well, that's interesting. I'm going to go sit with my 1940s life and see what I need to know about that one. So I can't thank you all enough. Oh, wait a minute. Here's one more. I meditate outdoors after dark. Was there a spiritual significance to the deer that showed up and just watched for about 5 minutes? No logical explanation how it came to be there. Well, I know traditionally in the animal messengers, deer represent Pathfinder. Um, so that could be something, are you on your path? Um, but I'm also hearing that it's vibration aligned with yours in meditation, in that silence and stillness and just that quiet sense of being. Um, it's like that's how the deer exists, showing up silently. Um, so I'm hearing there was some kind of alignment there for you. And it might be that you're meant to embrace some deer-like qualities this weekend. Or, sometime soon, where you just have to be quiet and listen, outside of the meditation. So I love all this today, and I love connecting with you all. This has been so much fun and so rewarding. Really great messages, really great questions. And of course, we wouldn't be here if you guys weren't participating and interested in sharing this work. So I can't thank you enough. And I will be here again next Friday. That's the 10th. That's my cousin's birthday. We'll give her a little shout out. But thank you all. I hope you have a wonderful weekend and a great next week. And I look forward to seeing you next Friday. Okay, bye.